Hi, this is Roy Worley. Welcome to the interview show that brings on guests from all walks of life. Yeah, it's here that they tell their stories and delve a little deeper into their lives to see what got them where they are. So grab a drink, have a seat, and relax, because this is the Leo Effect.
When was the last time a short movie shook your emotions to the core? When was the last time a short movie caused you to rethink everything you stood for? When was the last time a short movie made you proud to be an American? When was the last time you felt the emotion to stand up and cheer after a short movie? The new short movie, I've Got Your Six, written and directed by Bill Foster, one of the industry's newest and fastest climbing directors, will answer all of those questions. Rarely has there been so much packed into a short movie that when you leave, you'll feel more proud of our American military veterans. A movie that was cast only with American military veterans will have you on the edge of your seat, cheering for our veterans and what makes America great. I've Got Your Six will be hitting the film festival scene soon. Be prepared to drop what you're doing and go see this powerful movie when it comes to your area. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the Leo Effects. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. He's a guy out there in California. He's a mover and a shaker, making things happen. I'm joined by Middagh Goodwin. How are you, sir?
Doing well. How are you doing today?
I am also doing well. It was a very nice day
Excellent.
on this side of the country.
This as well. So both coasts are doing all right today.
Perfect. So, without further ado, we jump right on into this, and I'm going to ask you my first question, and that would be, what is it that you're kind of like known for / what is it that you do kind of thing, as far as, your career?
My career has always been sort of a hobby as well. I like to do things that I enjoy. So for 35-ish years, I have promoted music, mostly live independent music, and that has taken me down a few different paths along the way. Currently, I'm the managing editor of the Modesto View magazine, which is a monthly entertainment magazine here in California. And then I manage the Modesto Area Music Awards, which is a music award pretty much in the 209 area code, so Central California.
Wow. That
just celebrated 20 years this year, so
geez,
not too bad.
That's just a drop in the bucket, though. I mean, you've done some films, right?
I've done some films. I've been an extra in a few films. Terminal Man, Punk Rock Holocaust. They filmed that when I was on tour, on the Warped Tour back in 2003. It was a punk rock horror slasher. And then I've worked on a couple soundtracks, one for Trippin' that came out in 2011, and then another one that I was much more involved in too, because Trippin' had already been filmed, and the soundtrack that was given to them was not what they wanted.
Oh.
So I was asked to come in and pretty much find music that fit the movie, not whatever the guy wanted to do. So and I had like a 2-week time period to do that. The Ranger had a bit more of an arc, and I was in on it. I'd read the script before it even started filming, and that came out in 2018 and debuted at South by Southwest Film Festival, and then did the worldwide tour, and now is streaming on Shudder.
Wow, that's
and then
quite
we released
the resume.
Yeah, that was also released on vinyl and CD, and that was exciting for me, to have that tangible piece of my work.
Right.
And then I've also had a record label that I put out 4 releases on called Beat Happy Music. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And then, one of the, I don't want to say biggest things, but one of the other things that you have dabbled in or that you do is something that I've just recently started getting into, but it's the convention world. You are the the brain, the man behind the curtain for Graffiti Con, right?
Yes, Graffiti Con. We're celebrating our third year this year, and it's pretty much the con that I personally want to go to, and I take pretty much all things pop culture, including many of our guests are musicians. So they're musicians that are also artists or writers.
Okay.
So I'm bringing those in. Kepi Gooley, Dominic Davi, who runs Alternative Tentacles and is in Tsunami Bomb. So those kind of things, where we have a kind of a subculture effect to it. And then we have a car show.
Oh.
And cars and music is a huge part of pop culture that people just kind of overlook when it comes to the cons.
Right.
Then we have our regular guests, regular celebrity guests, and they're the ones I want to see. I don't need to go meet any of these superstars who are making millions of dollars and putting out some glossy movie on Universal or Warner Brothers or something. I want to meet the guys who I grew up watching. So last year we had Carl Gottlieb and had Sandy Helberg, and I've had characters from, and these are the second-rate characters, or maybe not second, but the extras and the guys behind the scene from like Star Wars. So
Gotcha.
like Alan Fernandez was a Tusken Raider, one of three. He was the elephant trainer. So those are the guys, because you get those stories that you don't get to hear when you have the big guys there, and you get one-on-one time with them.
Right.
So it's a neater, much for me. I think it's a neat kind of thing, and what cons used to be. And so taking the elements of what's going on now, but also what's happened in the past, so I'm kind of doing that arc for it. And it's a lot of fun. It's happening in June, on June 20th here in Modesto, California, which is home of George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, the graffiti in it is American graffiti, not tagging and wall art. But we have some great murals in town, too. So I love that. But for my event, it's the classic cars meet, the Comic-Con, pop culture convention.
Right. That's wild. That's got to be a trip and a half.
Yeah, and people seem to enjoy it. And then the car show is absolutely free, so anybody shows up for that, they can enjoy that. But 9 out of 10 of them end up seeing the people in cosplay and what's going on over there, and they walk in, and I'm not charging an arm and a leg. It's been $5 up until now. So,
well, all right.
Until I have to pay a lot more money to put it on, I'm keeping it reasonable.
Gotcha. So, I mean, the best place to start any story is at the beginning, right? So, what was it that inspired you to get into this life that you're leading now?
A few different things. I actually met Steve Wozniak at Silicon Valley Con, and I told him that he was the reason I, am in the state that I am today. And he goes, "Oh, whoa, don't blame me." But part of it was the US Festival. You see these events, music events, and I was living in LA, but moved to Modesto. And I started doing concerts promotion initially so that friends of mine from LA who were in bands would come up and visit.
Oh, okay.
After a while, they're telling their friends, "Oh, I have a friend in Modesto." And then I moved to Stockton, and so it became Stockton. But, bands started coming through. So over many, many years, you start creating this network of friends who then tell other people, "Oh, you need somebody, go talk to Middagh. You're touring through California, talk to him." And, I've booked some sizable bands over the years, but a ton of bands that most people have never heard of. And one thing I can say is I've literally booked bands from A to Z, from the Aquabats to the Zillionaires.
Nice.
The one letter that was the holdout was Q, and finally did that with a band from New Hampshire called the Queers, punk rock pop punk band, and they filled that letter, and then it seemed like within months I had three more Qs. And I was like, "All right, well, here we go." I would have filled it much sooner if Freddie Mercury would have ever given me a call back, and but that's a different story.
That would have been a good one to fill for that one.
Yeah. Queen would have been great. I would have done that and went, "All right, I'm done."
Well, I've succeeded at life. That's brilliant. Jeez. And, we kind of touched on it a little more, so I think I would like for you to get that story out there to the listeners about what it was that inspired you to start Graffiti Con. I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit about how, you know, it's what you wanted to see, but there was so much more to that story.
Yeah, well, I worked with some other people doing other events, and the first one that I got brought in to do music, and by the time the event happened, there was no music because I ended up taking on everything else, and the time frame that should have been allotted was not there for the hall that we would have been able to have them bands in. So when it was all said and done, I was the promotional manager and PR and marketing and guest relations. We booked Sam Jones, who was Flash Gordon, and Doug Jones, who you don't see his face in it much, but he's in every movie that has prosthetic creatures in it. You know, Hellboy, Silver Surfer, super nice guy. So
Yeah.
we were, had him out. But the one thing I was there for, I didn't get to do. And there was like 12 other people. And like anything else, when you get too many hands in something, those who do, and those who don't kind of ride along for the fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when it was all said and done, I walked away. It was very successful. We had paid for the hall for the next year, had like $50,000 in the bank account. This is the first event. And I walked away from it just because I was like, I can't work with these people. And if I'm going to do something, I want it to be done. It doesn't have to be my way, but I don't want to be, hey, I need to talk to 12 other people to get an okay on something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and like I said, the people in charge were not fulfilling their obligations, I felt. Worked on another event that's hopefully will come back called the Cosby's with some other friends, and it's a Northern California cosplay show. And we took that, and I actually took it on the road, did it Stockton Con and a few other cons around, judging contests and helping out with their cosplay events, San Francisco Comic Con, yada, yada.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun. But I still wanted, and I had people who I became friends with that were vendors that, were looking for it. And I was like, well, when Modesto opens up, if it's not, because at one point there was 3 or 4 cons going on in a year. And I was just like, there's no need for it here. Not in Modesto, especially when you got a con in Turlock and a con in Stockton, con in Tracy. And, there's within an hour drive, Sacramento is an hour and a half away maybe. And there's 5 cons up there. So it was oversaturated.
Ah.
Well, within a year, 2 cons pretty much closed. The one I had worked on originally went from $50,000 in the bank to $55,000 in debt.
Ooh.
So that folded.
Yeah.
There was another guy who was doing a con here, and I think meant for it to be good, but just for whatever reason, it just didn't click.
I see.
Part of it, I think, was charging too much for what he was doing, and it was just kind of that. Oh, I'm going to do this, and all these other cons charge this much, so I'm going to charge that much too.
Mm.
You got to build it up. So after the con I'd worked on closed, I was planning on it, but I was waiting. They said they were going to do another one. I figured they wouldn't, but let them announce that they're not. By the time they did, it was about 4 months out, and I was like, I'm just going to do it. So within with about 3 months of planning, I put on first Graffiti Con.
3 months of planning, and you put on your first convention.
Yeah, which is not a typical thing, but since I had the, one with the paper, with the magazine, I was able to do ads and write a story about it. So, I have a good network, and I had all the contacts from the vendors when I did it for the CosiCon or for Modesto Con Year 1. So, I kept in touch with all these people. So I sent out emails to everybody, and they're like, oh, you're doing something? Sign me up. So that went off. We made money, not a lot of money, but made money.
Yeah.
So then once that was done, let's reserve the date for the next year. Repeat. And here we are a few months out. Well, I guess it's about 5 months out, 4 months out now because it's June 20th. Ready to do it all over again. And I figure every year we build a little bit more, and as long as it's fun and people are enjoying it, I see that I'll continue doing it. It's not, for me, it's not a money thing. Whatever I make off of it, I end up giving to charity anyway. And I've earmarked the money that I've given to go to music scholarships.
Oh, cool.
So,
that's amazing.
So that's my side of it. So it's like, that's the goal. And so it's a success as long as, like I said, once again, people are smiling. I did a help with an event we called it Lexicon, and a little girl who, unfortunately she died, but she had brain cancer.
Oh.
And she had come out and she really enjoyed the pop culture stuff and all that. So we decided to give her an event before, because we knew that she was going to pass. Wasn't sure exactly when, but we knew it was coming. So we put on an event and got the hall donated. So all the money from the vendors went to her and her family to help with the expenses. But she came out in a little Batgirl costume, big smile on her face. She had met see Andrew Nelson once before, I think, and he signed himself. So she was really excited to meet him again and talk to him. And when somebody was like, "Yo, you can't put a successful con on within a month and a half," I'm like, I don't need to put a successful con on. All I need to do is an event that puts a big smile on her face. That is how I'm going to judge the success of the con. And the vendors, I straight up told them ahead of time, this is a one-time. I'm telling you, I have no idea how many people are showing up. So if you want to do it, the tables are cheap, and this is why it's happening. Most of them are like, sign me up. So that was really, really neat. A lot of them donated stuff for an auction we did. We had a Prop 45 that John Travolta had signed, and
cool. I
don't remember who signed it, but we had some of the 300, helmets signed and some neat stuff.
Yeah.
There was I don't even know what the name of the comic. It was some, second, third, fourth, six-stringer comic book that Stan Lee wrote. I don't even, like I said, a newer one, but he signed it. So there was some neat, and this is after he had passed. So there were some neat things for that. And we raised a fair amount of money from the auction as well. So, that was a neat thing. Not only did we raise some money for the family, the pictures of the kid, just, super big smile.
That's
and
awesome.
That was important. Those kind of things that you give back. And I've done events for Make-A-Wish and for the Children's Crisis Center and the Hope Haven Women's Shelter and different things. But you don't see, you don't get an immediate response when you do those kind of events. But when you get that, when you see the person you're helping and the family you're helping, it does you good. And you hope that it also inspires other people to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's an important thing.
It is. It's it's paramount. And when you're hosting these events, and you've got Graffiti Con going on and all of that, are you wandering around through the crowd, or do you just kind of stay in one spot?
I'm out and about. People see me. I talk to people. One of the things I do is I walk the line before the show even starts, thanking people for coming and getting them all wristbanded up ahead of time, which I don't know why people don't do. They have a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Give them the wristband, take their ticket, get them set up so they can come in quick.
That's cool.
I see some of these events where they hold the line and they wait until after doors are supposed to be open. And I'm like, why? So you can take a picture of a big old long line. You already have a big old long line. Take a picture of the hall packed. But that's just part of the way I did things when I was doing independent concerts. It's like you want those people in, and you want them in front of that band. You want them, interacting with the celebs. You want them interacting with the cosplayers and the vendors. At the end of the day, you don't have a successful event unless everybody's happy. And a big part is the vendors have to be happy. They're helping subsidize your event.
Right.
The guest, even if you pay them, if they don't, if they don't have a good interaction with crowd members and, at least come close to what they should be making, then they're not going to be happy. They're going to go, yeah, they paid me the guarantee, but I would have rather had, 50, 60, 80 guests asking me to sign something.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's that part of it. You want to keep everybody engaged. And
Gotcha.
so part of it is getting people in, because that first line, that delay is just, kind of a killer almost. So
yeah.
I walk the line. And I, do that part of it. So every little bit. And if something is needed, I'm there to help.
Right.
And I walk around the vendor hall and I, in the morning and thank everybody. And at the afternoon, thank them again, because these are the personal relationships, like I said, that help me be able to put an event on, in 3 months and make money off of it.
Mm-hmm. Cons are notorious for having the unique people and the unique side of people show up. Have you ever had an experience where, maybe a guest got a little too rowdy?
I haven't, but part of I mean, I have with the rock and roll shows, especially if there was any drinking involved. But at the
Go figure.
I think part of it is, when you interact with them, there is that sense of, community. It's different when you go to an event and you've paid a lot of money. Sometimes you get that sense of self-entitlement that, well, I paid, $50 to get in. I should be able to do whatever I want. No. And I put it out, when I post things, that your interaction, like say with a guest or the cosplayers, you're going to have a better interaction if you ask for that photo.
Yeah.
Because, they're going to, let me put my sandwich down, or let me put my mask back on. Let me get in character.
Mm-hmm.
And so all that is so much more enjoyable when it's said and done, and it takes just a moment. So I really emphasize that with people. And I know, there is that in other events, but I don't see it as much, and that's one of those things that, when I did concerts, for the most part, I didn't let them have a green room.
Okay.
Like,
I see.
you are here. If you want to sit in your van or your bus, fine. But I'm not giving you a spot to avoid your fans. Your whole point is you're here performing, interact with them so that it builds and they get that experience. And you're going to enjoy it so much more because it takes you back. Even the bigger bands, it's like it takes them back to where they were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So that's something I try to do even with this. Like, there's no big dividers with everybody. It's here you are. And part of it is, if I got, superstars, you got to do a little bit more. But even that, I'd be like, no, if we have a green room, it's a green room for all the guests, not just for the A-listers.
I see. Okay.
Because we're all at the top, we're all at the bottom in our life. So, it's like, you never know. So it's really important to treat everybody with respect and mirror what you're getting from them, So
right.
It's like, hey, I'm going to treat you well. I hope you treat everybody else well, and we can just all enjoy ourselves.
Cool. I like it. If you had the ability, just, money wasn't a factor, reputation, none of that. Like, you could just select one person or group or whatever to be at one of these events that you could pick. Who would it be?
And this is the funny thing. For me, it's definitely not a money factor, but it would be someone like, as a bigger act, someone like Jackie Chan.
There you go.
I always enjoyed his stuff when I was growing up. But the first event I did, and, like I said, we had some money, I was like, how cool would it have been to get the guys who played the three wins in Big Trouble in Little China,
That would be cool.
And I'm like, those kind of things, it's like, I grew up, watching bad, Hong Kong cinema. I watched a lot of B-rate horror films. So for me, I'm coming from that aspect. I mean, Cassandra Peterson would be great, Elvira, and she's not way out there. I think it's like 6 to 10 grand maybe.
Oh, okay.
But I was thrilled when we got Sam Jones. I'm like, Flash Gordon.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
When I was in junior high, I wrote a review of Flash Gordon for the school paper.
Oh, sweet.
And so I don't think it really helped him or diminished anything, but I remembered it, and we talked about it, and those are kind of things, the characters from Star Trek, the those kind of things where it's like my childhood, because that's what we're all, when you go to it, you're trying to, it's a nostalgia factor.
Right.
Now,
yeah.
These new ones, you're getting out of it, like it's a right now factor. Oh, it's, Jeremy Renner, or it's whoever, is the big artist right now, the big act, and they bring those in, and everybody goes, ooh, it's not just him, blah, blah, blah. I would rather get the one of the older doctors, that I grew up on, that nobody would care about now. Well, not as many. So I'm not the one to ask, really. I guess I am, but me, it's not most of them, it's not a money issue. It's a time frame or geographical issue.
Right. I got you.
For who I want to see, because it's my childhood that, I want to, recreate. Now, I think a lot of people, it's that, it's like, I've met a bunch of people just doing different things. And, a few people I'd like to get Gene Winfield to come up. Gene Winfield is originally from Middagh, and he was the car fabricator and worked on American Graffiti, but he also worked on Blade Runner and
that was a good movie.
Get Smart, and he built the Galileo for Star Trek, and so there's all these different things that he's done over years. I mean, hundreds of cars and vehicles and spaceships and different things, and that's the kind of guy that I want to see at our event. Yeah, because it kind of goes along with it, but also, the other one would be bringing, if it's a money thing, bringing the Batmobile up, or the Black Beauty from, the Green Hornet. That's the other side that I would love to see, is getting some more screen vehicles to add to our car show.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see the Batmobile.
Is the transporting, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would be the thing. If money wasn't an object, I'd get 4 or 5 screen vehicles every show, bring them out, and let people interact with them and see them and get their picture taken. And I think that would be a great addition to the event.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool. That's awesome. So as we're drawing to the end of the show here, I want to take these last few minutes to kind of let you tell people where they can follow you on social media and things like that, and where they can go to get tickets to GraffitiCon.
You can go to graffiti-con.com.
Okay.
There's a link there. GraffitiCon 209 for the event on all social media. For myself, either Not My President Yet on Facebook and MySpace as well. I think there's still an account there, or just spell my name out, Middagh, Goodwin, Goodwin, and I'm really the only one, so you'll find me there.
The one and only, which that works out very well. I'm going to put links just so that everybody knows. I always put the links in the description of the podcast, so make sure to check that out. One-click shopping. So that'll be good to have. And I just want to say real quick that it's been a pleasure speaking to you, sir. Like this has been great. I've never been able to talk to somebody who's on that side of the table for a convention.
And it's interesting. I mean, I think it's part of the thing is people like me are a necessity, but for the most part, we're not. A lot of people who do it are not extroverts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of them are very introverted kind of people that work that side of it. And so I think part of their involvement in doing cons is they get the one-on-one time with some of the celebrities outside of everybody else, and then they can go off and to their corner, either taking the photos or, you know, running the cosplay contest or whatever, and they can kind of just hide where they need to be. I've never been that way. I'm always out and talking to people. So
That's awesome.
you know,
That's great. It's always, you know, I have no idea I never even really thought about it, who puts on the conventions. It never even dawned on me until I was introduced to you. So thank you for opening my eyes to
and
that.
no problem. And like you said, you know, when you go there, they got somebody working the door. I've worked the door if I need to, or, you know, you don't see the people that are behind the scene because they're behind the scenes,
Right.
but they don't need to be behind the scenes. You know, it's like, get out and interact with your constituents, let's say, with the patrons, so that you do build that product loyalty, let's call it. You know, it is. I mean, unfortunately, it is a brand. You know, I'm creating a brand with GraffitiCon. You know, and so I'm conscious of what I'm doing and how I'm building the event, but I'm also, you know, every event I'm making new friends.
Right.
And so then when I see them elsewhere, it's, you know, oh, hey, what's going on? And then they want to know what's going on. They want to know who's coming. They're following the pages. It's not just, oh, I got to put this on my calendar because that event's coming up in this time, and they forget about it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there's much more interaction.
Yeah. And just like he was saying, the same kind of holds true for podcasts, and none more so than this show. I would not be able to do any of this, or even really need to do this, facilitate this, if it wasn't for listeners like you that are tuning in and checking this stuff out. So thank you again very much for tuning in and checking this out. Thank you again, sir, Middagh, for joining us. It's been great.
You.
And everybody, we will see you next time. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, creatures of all ages, what an amazing show. Thank you for lending an ear and joining us. I'm the host, Ray Rumsey, and if you want to hear more interviews, simply head to anywhere podcasts are heard, Facebook or Twitter, and search The Leo Effects, with an A, not an E. If you'd like to hear me doing silly voices and making a general fool of myself, head over to Shattered Dungeons on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. We live stream every Tuesday night. More projects are in the works. For now, stay tuned for more interviews. To book yourself as a guest, you can head to theleoeffects.wixsite.com/podcast or send me an email at theleoeffects@gmail.com. Remember, this has been The Leo Effects, and great shows require great listeners, just like you. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.